But then I was like thinking about the book overall and like how like I liked it and all that stuff. And then I was like, hold on now, wait a minute, because why do rich people have so much time on their hands to make mysteries and puzzles? Like, and then I zoom in to make it worse. Just ignore my appearance. I am inside my house. Maybe I'll like try to make myself look more presentable, because why do I look like this? Why did I choose to put myself on the internet like this? You know what? I don't care. I'm in my house. It's literally like a sauna in my apartment because the heat's on, the heat's blazing. I look like a hot mess. Oh, wow. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video, I want to be filming another book vlog where I read the 2 books from the Inconveniencing series, the Hawthrone Legacy, and then the Final Gambit. And I am aware that there's gonna be a 4th book, and I was gonna wait to film this video when I got the 4th book, but I got impatient. I just wanted to read these 2 books. But here's the kick about this video. I already read this book. I legit just finished it like a few minutes ago. I already read the Inheritance Games, the 1st book, and I remember reading it and I was like, this is a good book, but it's low-key kind of mid. I think because it was compared to Knives Out, I was expecting it to be grand and great, and it was a good mystery though. The mystery was fun. It was like a good kiki, a good read, a good fast read. I enjoyed reading it, but then at the end I was like, it wasn't like Knives Out good, but it was still a good mystery to read. But then I think I did know that there was a 2nd book, and I was like, I don't really want to read the 2nd book though, I'm not gonna lie. Some time has passed and I'm like, well, maybe I do want to read the books, because maybe I'm like, I kind of did like the mystery and it was kind of good. So I bought the 2 books, and I'm probably gonna buy the 4th one as well. I was gonna vlog me reading these 2 books, but then yesterday I had a doctor's appointment and I brought this book with me to read while I was like, you know, waiting and all that stuff. And then I got like up to page like 52, I think, and then I just read it, and then I didn't pick up the camera because I was just like not feeling too good. So I was like, I'm just reading the book because at this point I'm like, it's getting good and I just want to read it. And I was gonna finish it last night, then I like fell asleep. I was really tired, so I just fell asleep. And then I just picked it up today and I just finished reading it. So I'm done with the book. And I wasn't gonna film this video at first because I was like, as much as the book was fun to read, I feel like I don't have much to say about it. First I was starting to annotate, but I literally only annotated 2 quotes. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't film this video because I don't have much to say. But then I was like thinking about the book overall and like how like I liked it and all that stuff. And then I was like, hold on now, wait a minute, because why do rich people have so much time on their hands to make mysteries and puzzles? Like, every story that I read that was about rich people, they always making some puzzles. They always doing some like escape room type mess with either their family or with each other, or like they're in a mystery. And I'm like, y'all got too much time on your hands. I don't know why I have these glasses on still. These are my computer glasses. I was looking at my computer earlier because I was watching YouTube videos, but then I was reading. I just kept them on. But like, I'm gonna just put them back on because I feel like my vision is weird. So my thoughts on this book, since I've already read it, I will be giving spoilers. So like, if you haven't read these books, then don't watch this video. I'm gonna give it a 4 stars because I was reading it and I was like, oh my goodness, like the way how like I couldn't put the book down because I wanted to know what happened. I was like, okay, that means it's a good book. But in the back of my head, I was like, this is a good book and I'm enjoying reading it, but like low-key, it's still kind of mid. Like I feel like because it's kind of like kiddish. Like, I mean, the stuff that happens is like, I mean, she got kidnapped, she almost got murdered. I feel like that's like kiddie kind of sort of, but like it's, I don't know, like I'm saying it's mid because I don't feel like, oh my gosh, this was such a great book, oh my gosh, I can't believe I read it, oh my gosh, fantastic. Like when I read 4th Wing, I was like, oh babes. I gave 4th Wing a 6 stars. I feel like if a book isn't making me feel like I am like, when I finish reading it and I'm like, like if I don't feel the way about a book, it's not 5 stars. But I was like, I can't give it a 3 because I feel like a 3 is too low. And also when I was editing yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm kind of, my head's kind of dizzy, so I'm gonna just do the rough cut of this video. And then I was like, I should like lay down. And I was like, not gonna lie, I kind of want to read the book though because it was getting good. And then before I was editing, I didn't want to edit because I kind of wanted to just finish reading the book. So I'm like, the fact that I wanted to keep reading the book because it was good, I'm like, I have to give it at least a 4 stars. That's why I give it the 4 stars. But I think also the whole thing is that as good as the story is, I don't feel like I have much to talk about with this book. Like the whole love triangle between Jameson and Grayson and Avery. I watched the, I'm gonna say the last name wrong, the triplets, the funding triplets, and I remember there was a video they were talking about how like they would never let a girl get in between them. After like hearing that, the whole concept in like TV shows and movies and like books of like 2 brothers fall in love with the same girl and fighting over her, I'm like, now that I think about it, that whole concept's kind kind of silly. Like, because even like when the Dolan twins were on YouTube and they did that whole episode thing, the whole episode thing was about us picking which Dolan we want to fall for at the end. I'm not gonna lie, I played the episode game because I wasn't episode girly. I literally have videos on my channel about me playing episodes. And like it was fun, but like the whole concept, and even in like Vampire Diaries and in that show, what's the show called? The Summer I Turned Pretty. I'm not gonna lie, I was tempted to watch season 2 because everyone kept talking about it, and I was like, maybe I should watch it. That the whole concept of two brothers falling in love with the same girl. I'm like, now whenever I see that concept, after watching the triplets videos about Matt and Chrissy and how they would never have that happen between them, I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, that type of concept looks kind of silly to me to watch in media or to read about. And like, this is literally what the Inheritance Games, the first 2 books is of Avery not being in love, but like liking Jameson and Grayson and her not knowing which one to pick. And I'm like, I was reading it and I was like, Dad, like this concept is really everywhere of like a girl falling in love with two brothers. And I can understand you guys having a similar, and like, you know, you can find like a girl that your brother likes attractive as well, but to go out your way and to like fight, or I don't know, like that's kind of like 2 best friends like the same guy and they are like beefing about it. First of all, my best friends, we have different tastes in men, so like I feel like that wouldn't happen. But like whenever I'm not gonna spill that type of tea. Like sometimes my friends will be showing me who they're talking to and I'm like, okay. They're cute for you. They're cute for you. So I feel like that would never happen because we just have different taste in people. But also, I feel like even if like, let's say me and one of my besties, we end up liking the same person. I feel like me risking like having conflict in our friendship because we like the same I don't know. I don't think I could ever do that. Like I feel like, because the crazy thing is like a situation like that could have happened with me and one of my friends, and I immediately shut that down. I was like, ain't no way I'm letting this buffoon get in the way of me and my bestie. I mean the first girl, because in the first book they liked Avery, but then there was a whole concept how like they had this happen before. Jameson and Grayson both liked Emily, and then like she died. I forgot how she died, but like she died and that crushed them both. And then like the same thing apparently happened with the 2 sisters, like the Jameson and the boy's mother and their aunt, like they both like the same guy. So it's like tradition, and it like runs in the family. Y'all don't got different tastes. Y'all can't be different. Y'all have to be the same. And like, but it's literally just Grayson and Jameson, because like Xander likes, I think he likes Max in this book, which I kind of hope they end up being together because they were kind of cute. And then Nash is over here like in Libby, so like, you know, he's the oldest one. So I feel like it was just Jameson and Grayson. And I forget that Grayson's like 19. Like I don't know how old Jameson is. I think he's like either 17 or 18. I mean, he's still in school, so he's not 18 yet, but I don't know how old he is. I think Xander is 16. I don't know their ages. This book was cute, and then I just came to the realization that rich people have too much time, because this man really went and made a whole puzzle just for his grandkids and originally his daughters and then his grandkids to find his son. Like, be so for real. And then at the end, Avery finds him. Like he shows up, and he shows up just to leave again. He's like, I'm not staying, I'm gonna go. And she's like, yeah, but like everyone who like thought you were dead, they're like still mourning your death. They love you, they want you to be back. And he's like, nah, I can't do it. I mean, like, I kind of get it, but like, y'all did all that just for him not to return. He just left again. Unless he comes back in this book, what was the point? Like, what was the point? I'm not gonna lie, the part about Eve is always the last 100 pages of a novel that just like, oh my gosh, you're like, whoa, wait, hold on. Like, the plot is about the mother's name being Hannah. I was like, oh. And then how like she was connected to the fire. I was like, oh. That setup was good, because in the first book she was like talking about how her mother was like, oh, I have a secret about the day you were born. That was in book 1, but now we found out in book 2 what it was about. I'm like, all right, that was good. The whole part about, oh my gosh, the whole connection as to why she was picked for the whole inheritance thing was because she was the sister of a girl who was killed in the fire that Toby was responsible for, and like he fell in love with the sister of the girl that died, and then like he treated Avery like a daughter because he named her Avery, and then he signed her father's like name on the birth certificate, I was like, that's crazy. Like, he treated Avery, he's like, you are my daughter, not biologically, but he was like, oh, biology isn't everything. But he was still never in her life, really. And then even when he was, like, I don't know, because he said after the mother died, he did show up to like see how she was doing, whereas her actual father could care less about her. I remember reading in the back, you know how like in the back it says like how some authors like they'll read a book and talk about their opinions. Barnes is a master of puzzles and plot twists. The Inheritance Games was the most fun I've had all year. And that was said by E. Lockhart, who wrote the book We Were Liars. And We Were Liars, I read that book like 2 years ago. I'm still to this day, that plot twist, jaw drop. That's a 5-star book. And that's what I'm saying. It's like a 5-star is a book that like I read and I enjoyed, and I like years later I could still think about how crazy it was. Like, if we were villains, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. I wasn't like attached to that's what it was. I didn't feel a connection with the characters. Like I was kind of rooting for Avery and Jameson. Like, you know, I thought it was cute and I was interested in the plot, but the characters, I didn't connect with them fully. That's why I think the book is mid, because I don't connect to the characters like I would want to. I feel like when I feel for the characters and I'm all like, oh my gosh, ooh, when I have to keep stopping because I want to talk about the book, I didn't have to stop. I just flew through it. But like I flew through it in a way of like I wanted to know what happened, whereas other books that were like 5 stars and that I really do adore, I like have to stop and process what just happened. But yeah, this book was pretty good. I'm kind of glad she picked Jameson, because I feel like with Jameson, he went cold to her towards the end of the book when he found out about the whole birthday thing, and then like he was like, you know, he's asking for her forgiveness for it. Like he still stuck by her the whole time, whereas like Grayson kind of just like secluded himself and like went the other way and like dipped. And she's like, you just ignored me this whole time. And he's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, okay, maybe I did. And like, yeah, he still likes her, but like he likes her, but he's still not over Emily, and he's still like hurt by it. He's still like, it's still hurting him. So like he's like, I'm gonna stay away from Avery for your sake. When they had the argument and Jameson was like, I know you told me that you stood away from her for me, but like I don't think that's true, because you were there alone with her and like she was like about to die and you just let her, like when he just stood there and he couldn't process the fact that she needed help, like he was just frozen, and he's like, how could you just stand there? Like how could you not try to help her? And I was like, Dad, Jameson was really mad. As much as Jameson, like, you know, he kept playing games and she's like, oh, he's just playing games, he basically was like, if you let this be a game, it doesn't have to hurt. I think this is when they found out who Grayson's father was. Then they said, nothing has to matter, Grayson replied tightly, unless you let it. Jameson, even though he's always had feelings for Avery, he still stuck around and was like, you know, he was doing the mystery thing, but he still was around her because he still wanted to like be involved in her life. And I think after Emily, they both realized that they can't fight for the same girl again. So even though they both like the same girl, they're not gonna fight over her again. So they did a pretty good job at that. But I don't know how like they were with Emily, you know, so who knows about that. Jameson was still around, like he still like stuck around, and then like towards some points, moments where like he could have like kept going to help with the puzzle, she saw that he didn't do anything, that like he stopped, and she's like, Jameson always does this, why didn't he like go to do that? And it was pointing at the fact that like part in the beginning how like when they had the bet, he came to her and was like, this isn't a bet anymore, because that's when they kind of thought that Toby was Avery's father. They was like, okay, this isn't a game anymore, because if it was just find my uncle, that's a good game, but now we're trying to find your father, that's different, like this isn't a game anymore. He was trying to make Avery stay a game so that way her eventually not wanting to be with him at all wouldn't hurt him as much, but then he couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, okay, that's cute. And like Grayson was kind of doing the same thing, but you could still tell he was still very affected by the whole Emily situation, and that's why he like froze when she was like hurt. I feel like if she would have picked Grayson, I would have been okay with it too. I just feel like I'm just like, okay, now she picked Jameson, but now what's gonna happen with Grayson? Like, is Grayson gonna be okay with seeing his brother be with a girl that he liked too? Like, you know what I mean? I'm really hot, and I feel like I'm like dehydrated. Like I'm so hot. It's so hot in here, and I have a window open. It's so hot. The reason why I was like earlier about how like rich people have too much time on their hands, because in every single book that or like piece of media that I watch or read, they're always doing a mystery. Knives Out, The Glass Onion, Inheritance Games, what else? Squid Games. It's always rich people doing puzzles and mysteries and doing all this stuff, playing games, because they have too much time on their hands. Like, don't you got a business meeting to go to? You mean to sit here and tell me this old decrepit man made a puzzle in his will so they can find his son because he couldn't find him himself? Like, be so for real. I was talking about E. Lockhart for a reason, and then I derailed from that because I was saying We Were Liars. The book, if you haven't read We Were Liars, and if you want to read it, I'm gonna spoil it, so you can like skip to like a few minutes after. But We Were Liars is about how like, okay, and also We Were Liars too, about rich people. Well, they didn't do puzzles, they just had a house and they had drama. And We Were Liars, the whole plot is that like the girl lost her memory and she gained her memory and realized that like her cousins that she thought was here the whole time. We found out the reason why she stopped going is because a place burned down and all her cousins died. Her cousins and her lover died in the fire because they wanted to burn a house down to show their family that they were tired of the drama that their family was having, like all the rich people problems. They were tired of it, so they wanted to burn the house down to the ground. But then the house caught on fire too quick for her cousins and her lover to get out in time, and then she watched the fire burn to flames. And then she was so traumatized by the event that like she went into the ocean and she lost memory because she was so traumatized by the event. The same thing happened to Toby in this book. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. That's literally We Were Liars to the T. So she's saying this is a good book. Babes, this is, I'm not saying the author copied the book. I'm not saying that. But it's like they're pointing out the fact that she was the author of We Were Liars and how she loved this book. But Toby's whole plot line is literally We Were Liars. I thought that was cool. But the fact that Tobias, the grandfather, and both the wills he wrote, both wills he was not going to give a single penny to his family. Not a penny, not a nickel, not a dime, not a single cent of his money was going to his kids or his grandkids. It was all going to charity. Like, that's diabolical. I feel like it's because he realized how, like, messed up his family was. So he kind of wanted to just, like, have a clean slate for them and just have them just have their own lives outside the money. Because, like, I think he said the legacy that he had with his money was, like, he realized it was poisonous. So that's why he was going to give it to charities and not his family. So that they wouldn't have to continue the legacies that he created. Because I think he also felt like he realized he felt ashamed of, like, what happened. Which maybe was what's going to happen in this book. We're going to figure that part out. So that was this book. That was the Hawthrone Legacy.